Karen's audacity reached new heights when she repeatedly trespassed on my property, using my private path without permission. It seemed trivial to her. Just a path, she thought, but it was a critical part of my property, and her repeated disregard for boundaries was infuriating. She assumed that my patience had limits she could test, but she had severely underestimated my resolve and strategic thinking. I had long anticipated that her entitlement would escalate, so I prepared a response that would be decisive and unforgettable. One morning, when she once again attempted to use the path as if it were hers, I was ready. I confronted her presence calmly, ensuring she understood that her actions were not only trespassing, but also a direct violation of my property rights. But confrontation alone was not enough. Karen needed a lesson she could not ignore. I had already planned a method to reclaim control without unnecessary escalation. Using surveillance, legal protections, and strategically placed deterrents, I made her presence on my property impossible to sustain. Her repeated intrusion became the perfect opportunity to demonstrate consequences. By the time she realized she could no longer access the path, she had been exposed publicly for her repeated entitlement and disregard for boundaries. The situation escalated further when she tried to argue, claim her right, and involve the HOA. I calmly presented the legal documentation proving my ownership, the recorded evidence of her repeated trespasses, and a clear outline of the consequences if she persisted. Her smug confidence began to waver as she realized her assumptions about authority and control were entirely wrong. Every claim she made was countered by evidence and strategic foresight. Neighbors who had previously been intimidated or silent began noticing the pattern. Karen's repeated overreach, now captured on record, became an undeniable demonstration of her reckless behavior. Her attempts to assert control through repeated trespassing not only failed but actively highlighted her arrogance and incompetence. She had assumed that entitlement could override law, preparation, and strategy, but she was wrong. By the end of the week, Karen's trespassing had ceased. The path remained under my control, my authority reinforced, and her ego thoroughly bruised. Her repeated miscalculations had become yet another chapter in the ongoing saga of entitlement colliding with preparation and expertise. Karen had learned, again painfully, that overstepping boundaries with someone prepared, strategic, and knowledgeable invites consequences far beyond her imagination. This incident was more than a response to trespassing. It was a lesson in accountability, law, and respect. Karen had assumed she could act without consequence, but her repeated attempts at entitlement had only strengthened my position. The saga continued, but one truth was undeniable. When arrogance meets strategy, the outcome is inevitable, and Karen had once again discovered that she was not the one in control.